Welcome back to another episode of SJHL Insider. Thanks so much for joining us for our final episode of Insider before the holidays. So happy holidays, happy Christmas season to everyone, or whatever you celebrate during the holiday season. We'll have lots to get into today, of course, as always on SJ Insider, a recap of a handful of games from earlier on this week, a couple of commitments, and much, much more. We'll also be joined by one of the busiest guys in broadcasting, Benny Walchuk, the play-by-play voice of the Yorkton Terriers and the Melville Millionaires, and also the Swan Valley Stampeders of the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, to chat Millionaires, to chat Terriers, and much, much more. But before we get into all of that, we have to give a big shout-out to all of our sponsors, as always, as we do on SJ Insider and SJHL Weekly, Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGEU, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, Young's Equipment, SAS Lotteries, and of course our podcast sponsor for our Apple Podcasts and podcast on Spotify, that being SGI. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, these shows wouldn't be possible. So let's get right into it as we bring in Clark Munroe. Clark, how are we doing today?
Hey, Jeromy, doing well. How are you doing?
Another day in paradise.
Another day.
So yeah, let's get right into it. We have a lot to get into before our guest hops on. So yeah, let's get started.
Let's hit it right now with the hat trick. No, I missed your noises, Jer.
I don't.
I missed your noises from a few weeks ago.
I don't.
Topic number one, as per usual, like Jeromy mentioned, is going to be a quick recap on the last few days. So, Jeromy, we're going to start with Tuesday's games. Let's have a look.
Yeah, the Laurent Ice Wolves picked up a 4-1 win over the Nipawin Hawks and a big win for the Yorkton Terriers, a 4-3 victory over the Estevan Bruins to kick off a nice little 3-game homestand for the Terriers to close off the 2022 portion of the SJHL season for them. And then last night, the Estevan Bruins bounced back with a 4-0 win over the Notre Dame Hounds. That one in Carlisle, like a home game for the Estevan Bruins, despite it being a home game for the Hounds. The Laurent Ice Wolves with a big 3-1 win over the Humboldt Broncos. Of course, those two teams are among the 5 that are fighting for positioning in the SJHL standings between 2 through 6. And then a big one down below as the red-hot Melfort Mustangs continue to roll, a 9-1 victory over Melville. What stands out for you there, Clark?
I think that 9. I think the 9 that Melfort was able to put up against Melville stood out a little bit when I was looking at the scores. And, of course, you see any other number than you usually see numbers 0 through 5. You're not used to seeing a 9 on the board. So you see Melfort getting that big number 9. And some big nights by some of the Melfort Mustangs. We saw Kevin Minock get 5 points. Was it not 5 points?
It was 4.
4. Okay, you got one taken away. So either way, it was a big night for several players, and that one stood out. Obviously, the Laurent Humboldt game, which was the marquee game of that night as well, I would say, two really of the top teams in the league. 3-1 game. It looked like a great game. So what about you, Jared? Anything stand out for you?
The fact that Estevan bounced back after a tough loss to the Yorkton Terriers on Tuesday night, I think they're going to be happy going into their Christmas break after to get a 4-0 win. 2015 0-1 on the season for the Estevan Bruins going into the holiday break. Yes, that is a lot of games. They have played 36 games already this season. They only have 19 remaining left in the regular season for the final 3 months. And the teams around them have a lot of games in hand, including Flin Flon and Humboldt, who have only played 28 games. So that's 8 games in hand for both of those teams. So now that Estevan kind of has played 36, they have some time to rest up, get healthy, and kind of watch to see how those teams around them in the standings are going to kind of try and catch up to them, because they do sit in third, like I mentioned, in the SJHL standings, but you have Flin Flon, Melfort, and Humboldt all behind them. Flin Flon has 39 points, but they have 8 games in hand. Melfort has 38. They have 6 in hand, and Humboldt is only 4 points back of them, and they have 8 games in hand. So we'll see how that plays out, but we'll get into that once we get into the standings as well.
Definitely. Let's move on to our second topic of the day here, and there has been some great news from several markets around the league. Jeromy, let's get into it. There's been some university commitments lately. Can you wrap those up for us?
Those are Direct West commitments.
Thank you, yes.
For our great friends at Direct West for sponsoring the commitments in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. It all started on Friday morning. Mequon Tallman of the Weyburn Red Wings announced that he was committing to Concordia, Wisconsin of NCAA Division III. Of course, Tallman's actually a 19-year-old, so he's going to be leaving junior hockey a year early to go play for Concordia. So congratulations to Mequon. And then later in the afternoon, Riley Ash, 16-year-old Riley Ash, he's one of the top rookies in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this year. And he announced his commitment to the University of Nebraska, Omaha, NCAA Division I, for anybody that doesn't know. And then finally, the one that kind of came out late Monday, which doesn't come as a surprise either, is Jake Southgate of the Balfour North Stars announcing his commitment to play NCAA Division I hockey for Lindenwood University. And Lindenwood, we talked about it earlier on in the season when we chatted with Jaden Mercier on SJHL Weekly, but Lindenwood becoming a bit of a hub for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So Southgate will be joining both Jaden Mercier of the Flin Flon Bombers and Ethan Zilke of the Humboldt Broncos, joining them at Lindenwood University moving forward.
Yeah, and speaking of little hubs, even University of Nebraska Omaha, Karsten Cater committed there earlier this season. So a couple 16-year-old commitments for them from this league, which is very exciting. And it just goes to show that stay here, play here model is working very well for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Do you want to move on? You ready to move on?
Yep.
Perfect. It's topic number 3. We're going to have a look at the standings as of today in the league. And, at this time of year, it's getting to that mid-season point. Some of the playoff battles are getting very interesting, Jared, as we look at the top 8 there. And the battles for the bottom spots as well are getting heated. So what stands out for you as you look at the standings here today?
That's a bit of a loaded question.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's very vague. I think obviously you look at the top of the standings and you have the Balfour North Stars. Their run has been incredible. They have 3 games in 3 nights this week against Yorkton, Melville, Yorkton. Let's see how they finish up to close out the pre-holiday break. Are they still going to be undefeated in regulation? Time will tell. I alluded to it earlier. 2 through 6 is unreal. 44 points for the L'Orange Ice Wolves, 37 for Humboldt. So 7 points separating those 5 teams. And look at the discrepancy in games, too, is what really stands out when you look at those teams. Obviously, you have Estevan, who's played the most amount of games with 36, but then 28 for just Flin Flon and Humboldt. So really, the battle for home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs between those 5 teams is going to be unreal moving forward down the stretch. And I think I teased this in a radio interview with Rob Hart, the legend Rob Hart up in Flin Flon, that I did earlier this week. But those matchups, 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 in the SJHL playoffs this year, are going to be doozies.
Yes.
Then it's interesting because then you get to, the bottom of the standings and you're starting to see a little bit of separation. The Nipawin Hawks now have 28 points. They've lost a couple in a row though, 2 to Battleford and now 1 to L'Orange earlier this week. But as of right now, they are in a playoff spot, and the Notre Dame Hounds are tied with the Yorkton Terriers for a playoff spot, but the Hounds also games in hand. And I just think when you look at the bottom of the standings, I don't think there's too many there's no one out of it for sure. Kindersley's only played 28 games, but we've talked about it numerous times with Kindersley. They have to make up they have to play their games in hand. They actually have to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Previously they hadn't, but time will tell and things can change for the second half of the season. Same with the Melville Millionaires. Mathematically, obviously they're not out of it either. They have lots of games against teams around them in the standings. But obviously a 9-1 loss to the Melfort Mustangs on Wednesday is not something that they would have liked to have seen. And you know what? The one team that really intrigues me for the second half is Weyburn. 10-17, 0-1 right now. 2 games this weekend. They got a big one against the Notre Dame Hounds on Friday at home. And then they're in Humboldt on Saturday. But I looked at Weyburn's schedule for the second half of the season. They have a lot of games against teams around them in the standings. They have a lot of divisional games. They're going to be seeing a lot of Melville. They're going to be seeing a lot of Yorkton. They're going to be seeing a lot of Estevan. And they're going to be seeing a lot of Notre Dame.
Right.
Friday's game between Notre Dame and Weyburn is the first time those 2 teams have met all season.
Wow.
So there's a lot of important games. And with how well they have played since acquiring Riley Morgan from the L'Orange Ice Wolves, That's a team that I think could definitely go on a run. I think in the second half of the season. And Yorkton's been playing really well too as of late.
A couple wins in a row. Yeah.
They beat just the one win in a row. You're all right. The Tuesday one too.
Right.
Estevan, and then their previous win against La Ronge.
There you go.
Back-to-back wins, but now they have 2 games to close out the 2022 portion of their schedule against Battleford. But I mean, they've beaten some of the top teams in the standings so far this season, and they're playing a lot better. So we'll see how they go down the stretch. And our guest today is the perfect person to talk to about the Yorkton Terriers and as well as the Melville Millionaires. And maybe should we dive into the Manitoba Junior Hockey League too? We're pleased to be joined now by the play-by-play voice of the Melville Millionaires, Yorkton Terriers, Swan Valley Stampeders, Fort Knox. We still doing Fort Knox, Benny?
Playoff time, maybe.
Playoff time, maybe. C Capo.
Maybe later in the year,
okay.
Possibly next year. Yeah,
we get it. You're a very busy man, and we appreciate your time as always. Benny, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Jeromy. Thanks a lot for having me on, and Clark, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this time around.
You know what, Benny? As soon as I heard you were coming on, I canceled a lot of appointments. I told my kids to walk home from school, and I had to be here for you, buddy.
Well, thanks a lot. Kids aren't getting Christmas presents this year now because Dad can't go shopping.
Nope,
but
it's over.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, yeah. Once Clark's off camera, he's actually going to have to go in and get those Christmas presents. So
yeah, I'll be right back.
Who knows if we'll see him for the rest of the interview? Benny, again, I do appreciate your time because you were with the Millionaires last night in Melfort. Obviously, definitely not a result they would have liked to have seen. What did you see from that game last night?
Yeah, it was definitely tough. I know they were pleased with their effort Sunday against Estevan, especially after that first period. Yeah. I know talking to fans around the community, that was probably the best period the Millionaires played all season long. And then unfortunately, I didn't play the full 60 minutes, did get a point, but lost in overtime. And then they thought they could take some momentum into Melfort, but just got into a little bit of penalty trouble in the first 10 minutes of that game. Discipline was a big thing that Mike Rooney talked about before the game. Especially to keep Melfort off the power play. Then they scored 3 power play goals in the first 12 minutes and just couldn't quite catch up from there. I kind of took the wind out of the sails of the Millionaires in that hockey game. So, yeah, tough result. I know it's definitely tough with them trying to creep their way back into the SJHL playoff race. But they have one more kick at the can here on Friday against the Battleford North Stars. I know the task is a big one, but the Millionaires have played pretty well here lately on home ice. And anything can happen in the SJHL. If you get a hot goaltender, if your power play, your special teams kick off at the right night, anything could happen. But yeah, it'd be nice to get into the Christmas break for the Money Men with a little bit of a higher note.
It's funny you mentioned that because I think Clark and I were at that game against Estevan, and I think we said to each other during the first intermission that might have been their best period of the season. They found the back of the net 3 times. They outshot Estevan 25-6. They looked like a completely different team, and it didn't look like a team that had only 8 wins on the season. When it comes to the Mills this year, what has kind of gone wrong? Because I know talking to Mike Rooney prior to the season, he definitely had higher expectations for this club.
Yeah, I think it's just consistency on a basis and just playing a full 60 minutes. I know the starts, I think that if you look back, going into that game Sunday, they only scored 11 first period goals all season long, which is not a recipe to have success, especially not getting off to a good start. So I think just playing a full 60 minutes and special teams have been a big factor. Early in the season, they had tons of 1-goal games, so they're up by 2 goals or 1 goal. And if they would have scored on a power play here and there, or if they would have killed off a penalty, they might have those 2 points. So you take away maybe 3 or 4 losses, and you're right back into the playoff race. So I think special teams has been a big factor. So far, I think they're 12th in the SJHL in power play, 11th in the penalty kill. So you look at the top teams around the league. Special teams are important. You look at the top PKers, the top power play teams. They're all the 4 top teams in the league. So I think special teams have been a big factor, and just playing a consistent 60-minute game on each day and out.
The other team you cover in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, the Yorkton Terriers, they picked up a big win on home ice, 4-3 over the Estevan Bruins on Tuesday. What did you see from that game?
Yeah, they just play that smothering style that they've had success with at the beginning of the season. They got away from it maybe in November and the start of December here, but they play that smothering style. They only gave up 24 shots against in that game against Estevan the other nights. And if they play that style, then they capitalize on their chances like they did on Tuesday against Estevan. Great things can happen. Caleb Allen had a great start, had a little bit of a lull maybe in between, and surely Caleb will admit that, but he's played better here as of late. So if they play that in-your-face style, if their special teams can improve, just like the Millionaires, they're towards the bottom end of their special teams as well in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So if they can get that together and play that smothering style, they can show that they can beat any team in the league. And for the battle for North Stars coming to town here in the next couple of days, if they play that style, if they're able to get off to a good start, get maybe a 1 or 2 goal lead early on, and then kind of close things down, it could be good things here for the Terriers in the last couple of games.
And you mentioned it. The Yorkton Terriers have 2 games against the Battle for North Stars this week. I do believe. Were you on the trip previously when Yorkton faced Battleford earlier on in the season?
Yeah.
What did you see from those?
Yeah, go ahead.
What did you see from those games?
They were great games. I think they played well for about 30 minutes of those games, and then when they get off or they lose, maybe lose a stretch, just like last night with the Millionaires, if they get into penalty trouble and you give power play a chance for Battlefords, they're definitely going to convert. So I think it was just in those hockey games, it was just a matter of maybe 6 or 7 minutes in those games that those games got away from them. So if they can play that full 60 and stay to the box, I think they're going to have some good success here against Battleford this week.
Now you mentioned it. Both teams, the Yorkton Terriers and the Melville Millionaires, currently fighting for a playoff spot. If both teams want to make the playoffs, what do you think that they have to improve on in the second half of the season?
I think it's playing better on home ice, especially for the Millionaires. I know we said they've had good efforts, but maybe haven't got the results they wanted to. And then getting a little bit of consistent goaltending. I know Clem Labois has been very good so far in his rookie season, but I think he needs help around him defensively. That's kind of what's been tinkered to his stats here the last couple of weeks. I think more consistent defensive play. Special teams is going to be a big factor for the Millionaires, and just playing a full 60 minutes and just having a belief in yourself. I know they get up 2-0 in a game or 3-0 in a game, and then they're basically holding on for dear life instead of saying, hey, let's go get that 4th goal. Let's go get that 5th goal. So I think just having belief in their hockey club that you look at the standings right now, I think they're 6 or 7 points out of a playoff spot. So if you sneak a point or 2 out of Battlefords, and you got Yorkton coming up after the break, you got Weyburn twice, you got Nipawin twice coming up in the month of January. And I think the Yorkton Terriers have a similar schedule as well. So if you beat those teams around you in the standings with those consistent efforts, you could be looking here in a month's time, you can be looking for the Millionaires and Terriers to be in those playoff spots instead of being the outside looking in.
Yeah, nobody's out of it just yet in the SJHL standings. We just took a look at them prior to you coming on, and you mentioned it. Even though the Mills are, I think, in 11th going into this weekend's action, they're still not out of this race. But Benny, when you look at the SJHL standings this year as the league as a whole, I mean, you've been around this league now for 10 years. What stands out this season in the SJHL for you?
Yeah, it's just been the consistency and the parity. I think this is when you talk about it each and every year. It's parity gets better and better. Some of the teams like Laurentius, Kevin Kaminsky's done a great job. That might be a surprising team. You knew they'd be pretty good, but maybe not as good as they are right now. Right. So they were the bottom half of the standings for a few years. Now they've been at the top half for the last couple of years, and just the battles between the two teams. You got the Nipawin Hawks with. Doug Johnson was on the helm of that franchise for a while. Tad Kozins came in, and they've kind of battled, and they played a different style, but they're having success that way as well. So I think just the parity has been great. Just the tight hockey games. I know there's been a couple of blowouts here the last couple of weeks, but I think just how tight the league's been. I know Battleford's had some tight hockey games. They've had to win in a shootout or in overtime and stuff like that. And I think just the caliber of play is taking that next step up. And we have these young guys committing already to NCAA scholarships at a very young age that we haven't seen. We have kids choosing the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League instead of going elsewhere, maybe to the North American Hockey League or the USHL or out west to Alberta or BC, which is great for the league in general. So I think just the caliber of the league has been outstanding. And I think the goaltending has been red hot too. Josh Cote has been outstanding. You look at Dawson Smith, who's probably underrated in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. He's been very good as well. Harmon Laser Humus has pretty been consistent with Flin Flon. I know Humboldt had a little bit goalie cycle there in Humboldt, but I think the goaltending has been outstanding in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So I think it just as a whole, it just keeps getting better and better. And just the youth movement, I think, is a big factor that I've seen here early on. All
right, so I got some Twitter questions for you now. I'm not going to tell you who they're from. I'm not going to tell you who they're from though. This one, an anonymous question. Can you ask Benny about the big sticker of him on the door in Yorkton? How did that come about, Benny?
Well, we actually have 2 stickers. We're on one side of the arena, then the other side of the arena. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. We were talking about sponsorship in the Saskatchewan with the Yorkton Terriers with our radio station GX94, and then I think
Now
the
that's
promotions.
country.
Yeah, now that's country. That's for sure. I think we had a promotion. We're trying to get advertising. We're thinking of different ideas, and actually, the first door we had was in Swan River. That was kind of a discussion we had. So the first inaugural Benny on the door was in Swan River. At the Centennial Arena. Then we talked about it maybe happening in Yorkton, and then they had the talks going for it. And I had to take about 5 or 6 pictures to get that right pose. And then actually the first picture we took, we had a Bauer stick, and it wasn't, we weren't a sponsor of the, Bauer's not a sponsor of the SJHL, so we had to switch to a Sherwood stick and a Sherwood pair of gloves. So we had to change that up. But yeah, it's great advertising. And I'll get a lot of tweets and pictures from not only people in the league, but just people around the area in the Parkland region that come in and say, I seen your picture on the door. Both in Swan River and Melville, or in Yorkton, and actually in Melville before the Millionaires and Melville Minor Hockey sold the bus. We had my picture on the back of the bus for our advertising with the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League team in Melville. So it's pretty good. I know I've seen a couple other broadcasters have big pictures elsewhere, but yeah, it's nice to have it in the arena. I never thought going into the broadcasting and back in 2012 that I had my picture on a couple of doors.
Well, here's the thing. We mentioned earlier on, you cover 3 teams. You're a busy, busy guy. So if fans of these teams that you cover want a picture with Benny Walchuk, they can now get it no matter what, even if you're at the rink or not.
Yeah, it's better to have a picture than somebody bringing a Sharpie there and trying to draw a mustache on me. But
that's very true.
Yeah, I'll take it. I take it. I got even a couple guys that coach football. They were up in Swan River playing hockey in Swan. They're like, there's Coach Benny on the door, and they got some pictures on it. So it's pretty entertaining. It's good advertising for the radio station. I got my Twitter handle and everything on that. So I'd like to thank just both communities and both organizations in Swan and Yorkton for taking the vault and getting me on the door.
There's a follow-up question to the door from the same person. Also, can you ask why he's never at the Notre Dame games? Is it a personal issue with me? So can you guess who that is? I wonder
who these questions are.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe if he turns off the heat in the arena a little bit more, and we don't have to start at 8:00. That's 8:00 on a Tuesday night is not recipeing when I have to get to work the next day. But no, I like going to Notre Dame. It's a good vantage angle and everything like that. So I just don't want the anonymous texter to be throwing any more headsets around where my area is. So
right, we've witnessed that because we were at a game between Melville and Notre Dame, and we witnessed that. Before we let you go, we talked to you the last time I had talked to you in person was actually in Notre Dame between the Millionaires and the Hounds, and I told you I'm going to bring you on SJ Insider before the Christmas break. And do you remember what you told me on your broadcast?
No, I don't remember.
You said to me, yes, I'll come on, but only if you have a Christmas present for me. So,
nice.
Clark, I do believe Clark's got a Christmas present for you. Clark, you want to pull it up for you?
Yeah, I just got back
bring it on.
I just got back from shopping for the kids, and I figured I'd pick this up for you as well. We got some lawn ornaments.
We got some lawn ornaments.
Matching lawn ornaments. So I know it's the dead of winter, and you probably can't put these on your lawn right now, but
nice.
I think come summertime, these would look really good in the front yard.
Yeah, actually, my niece likes flamingos too, and my little cousin. So I might have to maybe keep one and gift them to them. So I appreciate it, Clark.
There you go. It's almost like the those lovebirds or whatever from Home Alone where there's 2 and you give one to your best friend. It can kind of be like that.
And Benny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought back in the day there used to be a restaurant in Melville called the Flamingo.
Oh,
there still is the Flamingo. Yeah,
there you go.
It's on 3rd Avenue. So maybe we can. I know the ownership or the owners of the Flamingo. They I graduated with their. I grew up actually with their son and daughter. So yeah, small world. But yeah, there is a Flamingo restaurant. Still great food in Melville. But appreciate it, Clark. I know. I thought we'd be talking more about your Leafs because they're playing some decent hockey here.
Yeah.
What they usually do before Christmas until they kind of collapse in the playoffs. But nonetheless,
let's not worry about after Christmas. Let's talk about it right now. And you know what, Benny? I have another idea. If you want to get on another door, take a picture with the flamingos, give it to the flamingo owner, and maybe they'll put you on the door of the flamingo.
There you go.
Now we're just getting you all over the place.
And it can go along with their great dry ribs and pizza they have too. So appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Benny, for coming on. We really appreciate it. And hey, maybe in the new year, next time we make a trip to Melville, the 3 of us can go to the Flamingo.
I'm in.
Get some lunch.
Yeah, maybe we can get the SJHL commissioner to pork over some dough. Maybe he'll buy us some lunch too. So
Well,
I see
hey.
him traveling around everywhere. So maybe Commissioner Kyle can give us some lunch there too. But
You know
thanks
what?
a lot for having us, guys. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Safe travels if you're traveling. And once again, great job. I know I mentioned it the first episode, but great work you guys been doing here the first half. And looking forward to some great hockey here this weekend to wrap things up and into the new year. So appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Benny. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family. And I do believe you have a game to call tomorrow in Manitoba. So best of luck with your call, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year.
All right, that is the play-by-play voice of the Yorkton Terriers, Melville Millionaires, Swan Valley Stampeders, sometimes Fort Knox, sometimes Way Capo, head coach of the Melville Cobras high school football team.
Heck yeah.
Benny's a very busy man, so we appreciate his time. He's going to enjoy
He's
his
got so
flamingos.
much knowledge to give. He's got to just spread the wealth. You know?
Yes, he does. Yeah. I mean, him and I started in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League the very same season. So he's put in a lot of work during his time at GX94. Now that's country. That's their catchphrase if you didn't pick that up. But yes.
Can we get a sticker of Benny in the SJHL Insider background somewhere? So I think that would be a good idea. I think we should just put a sticker on the lockers behind Jeromy, actually.
Oh, you want it on the locker? Oh,
or somewhere in here. I mean, maybe we could get something going, I think.
Maybe in the new year.
Yeah.
On SJ Insider. If we
think
can
we
find
should.
some space in this luxurious office.
I mean, there's a lot of
we could set up like a wall of fame.
We could do that. I like the idea.
Or maybe we'll take the trophies out of and we'll get photos of every single broadcaster's face.
Yep. And just we'll put them on
over my shoulder.
Yeah, let's see. Now I think we're getting somewhere.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
we'll talk to the interior designers.
We'll talk to Kyle.
Yeah.
Because he's got the money to make that happen.
Yeah, we got to get some picture frames.
But yes, always a great chat with Benny, and it was nice of you to join us, Clark.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for bringing me in. That was fun. And I'll just keep these flamingos right next to me here. They're right next to me.
Well, yeah, I don't know how we're going to deliver those to Benny, but
yeah, we'll keep them safe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But Benny alluded to it. We got 3 more days of schedules, or 3 more days of games to get to before the holiday break. So let's get right into it. There's only one game tonight, but boy, oh boy, this should be an interesting one.
Very.
Yorkton has played the top teams very well this year. They play host to the Battleford North Stars, 7 o'clock, Westland Arena in Yorkton. Should be a great game. And then Friday, much busier day in the SJHL. Look at that first game. Look at that start time.
Let's go.
Grab your lunch.
Let's go.
Grab your lunch. Go to the West Central Event Center and enjoy the Kindersley Clippers against the Humboldt Broncos. Play hooky from work.
Or school.
Well, I to be fair, I think they do this because all the kids from school get to go to the game.
By the sounds of it, it's going to be a raucous environment.
Oh, it's going to be bumping.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 games in the evening. Battleford it will be in Melville. Nipawin hosts Melfort to kick off home and home between those two teams. And this is the first time this season Melfort and Nipawin are playing.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Two of the biggest rivals in one of the best rivalries in the
Second half's
SJHL.
going to be hot. With
And then
those guys.
then another game that's the first time these two teams are meeting this year, Notre Dame and Weyburn. And then, of course, Flin Flon against L'Orange. Couple of rivalries. Love it, love it, love it. And then Saturday, a little lighter, but still 4 games on tap. Battleford and Yorkton go again at the Westland Arena in Yorkton. Humboldt hosts Weyburn for their teddy bear toss game prior to the holiday break. And then the second half of the home and homes between Flin Flon, L'Orange, Nipawin, Melfort. You know what? Kudos to the schedule makers.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this weekend's schedule, pretty good.
Pretty good, I would say.
Pretty good.
Very good.
Lots of rivalries. What is, when you look at those, what's your game of the weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough because there's a bunch of home and home, so you can say matchup of the weekend. But
yeah,
what's your game?
I'm going to go with, I think it's hard to overlook L'Orange Flin Flon and that little home and home. That one's going to be just wonderful to watch. The one that we kind of talked about this earlier today, or was it last night even? But when we were talking about the Battleford's rest of the schedule here this weekend,
Right.
And you and I are hyping up some mid-season review stuff that might be coming out, may or may not be coming out in the next little while. And could Battleford's maybe Yorkton or Melville gets a good night, like Benny was saying. Maybe they get a hot goalie night, maybe they get a hot power play night, and something weird goes on. A lot of people are probably thinking Battleford's 25-0-2-1 currently going into the 9th place team and the 11th place team for the next couple days, but maybe this is the time.
Maybe.
So I am very much going to be keeping my eye on those.
To be fair, we have been saying that for a month and a half.
Exactly. Exactly.
Maybe this is the weekend.
Maybe this is it. But I mean, it's hard to think of it because Battleford's is so solid. And we've talked about it all episodes so far. Yorkton, Melville have had some struggles. But who knows? Who knows? That's the beauty of hockey. Any night, anything can happen. So my real answer is Laurent Flin Flon, but back of my mind, I'm going to be keeping an eye on Battleford's just in general this weekend.
Yeah, well, tonight. Beginning tonight. I know it's Thursday. It's weird to have a Thursday game. We don't have Thursday games often.
Not often.
But when we do, it's a big one.
When we do.
When we do, it's a big one. Like I just look at all the matchups this weekend. And there's definitely some intrigue, I think. That Weyburn Notre Dame one's a big one too.
That one's another big one.
Just because Weyburn's 5 points back in Notre Dame. Both teams have played the same amount of games. Notre Dame's currently in that 8th and final playoff spot. I mean, a win by Weyburn in regulation, you're only 3 points back in Notre Dame. Now, with that being said, you don't know what Yorkton's going to do this weekend against Battleford, and then Weyburn plays Humboldt on Saturday. But you can really kind of get back in that playoff race with a win for Weyburn against Notre Dame on Friday night in regulation, and really set yourself up, going into the second half of the season. Because I think Weyburn is playing some better hockey, especially since the acquisition of Riley Morgan. And they're the one team I really, until we see what else transpires on the trade front when it comes to potentially other teams in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. They're a team that we talked about when they acquired Riley Morgan. That that's a big move.
Great move.
It's a big move.
Yeah.
It's not often you see a team in 10th place go out and get a big player.
Yeah.
A top player.
Point per game.
Over a point per game player.
Yeah.
And they did, and they've looked really good since acquiring him. So I'm just curious to see how they go down the stretch. I mean, Nipawin's got a tough schedule coming up after this weekend against Melfort, then after the Christmas break.
Yeah.
The Notre Dame Hounds have been up and down all season. Same with Yorkton. And Weyburn's got a lot of games against those teams. We mentioned Weyburn and Notre Dame. First meeting of the season between these two clubs. They're going to meet lots in the second half. They're going to play a lot of games against Yorkton, a lot of games against Melville, a lot of games against Estevan.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting.
You know how I like my numbers.
Sure.
One thing that stood out, we're talking about Notre Dame Weyburn specifically.
Yeah.
Notre Dame on the season, 495 penalty minutes.
Yep.
Weyburn,
almost double.
954. Same three numbers rearranged, but in a way, it's almost double. If you imagine that. But that's one thing. We talked earlier about how important special teams are with Benny. Benny brought it up. And Weyburn has a 77% penalty kill right now. With that many penalty minutes, in a way, they've killed off more penalties than most other teams, but they still have a 77% penalty kill. So I love what you said earlier, just a minute ago there, with the acquisition, a 10th place team, go out and get a point per game player. It's a statement by Cody Mapes, and we talked about this when it happened.
Yep.
It's a statement by Cody Mapes in Weyburn to do that, and I want to keep an eye on Weyburn because after the Christmas break, we're going to get closer and closer to that trade deadline, and we'll see what else they do, what strategies they will take. And
then, the other one you mentioned, Laurent and Flin Flon.
Oh,
and the thing is with that one, here's the interesting, and this is where it gets really fun when it comes to this time of the year, and obviously the parity in the league, but we're obviously looking at standings, I think, a lot sooner than we typically would.
Yeah. I love looking at standings.
But with that being said, Laurent is in second right now in the league with 44 points. Flin Flon is fourth with 39. So 5 points difference, right?
Yep.
They have a home and home against each other. Here's the thing. Before they even play those games, Flin Flon has 4 games in hand. So they're not going to make up any of those games in hand. But with that being said, if Laurent goes and wins both those games, now all of a sudden, the Laurent Ice Wolves are 9 points ahead of Flin Flon with 4 games in hand. or vice versa. That's what makes it fun with those home and homes, especially within the division. It's a big way. Melfort, Nipawin. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see how those two teams go up against each other, because I think I look at Melfort and they play so well defensively. And then you have Nipawin, who, despite being in 7th place, they can really put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, they can. And I think in the same vein with Nipawin, I think we talked about, when we looked at the standings before Benny came on, we talked about how there's been a little bit of separation. I think Nipawin is in the mode now where they kind of want to take that next step and get a little bit more separation. I don't think they want to sit back. And knowing 100%. Tad Kozin, like you said, he wants to score a bunch of goals. But his interview a few weeks ago was really great when he said he wants to play his way of hockey and his style. And I think they want to put that emphasis on that 7th place spot and maybe put a little bit of pressure on Humboldt. I mean, it's a 9-point gap right now, but if they can maybe separate themselves a little bit and just, cement themselves.
I don't think Humboldt's the team that they would put the pressure on when you look at that top 6.
That's fair.
I think it'd be Estevan.
Yeah, absolutely. With the games in hand, for sure.
Nipawin has 6 games in hand on Estevan. If you go on a run and you win a lot of those, if you can win 5 out of 6 of those games in hand, that's 10 more points. That takes you to 38, and you're only 3 points back of a team like Estevan.
Absolutely.
I don't think Humboldt's the one you're chasing.
Right. I think they want to be in that being said,
like that's an entirely different, I think, conversation, because there is a huge gap between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
9 points is a huge
Definitely.
gap, especially with the parity in the league. For Nipawin, I mean, you have Nipawin, Notre Dame, and Yorkton all separated. Nipawin has 28, Notre Dame 26, Yorkton 26. As of right now, 2 of those 3 teams will make the playoffs.
Right.
Right. They need to separate them. They're trying to separate themselves from Notre Dame and Yorkton.
Definitely.
They've kind of jumped ahead and gotten a good cushion over teams like Weyburn, Melville, and Kindersley, but it's those teams that they're battling with.
Definitely.
And again, like we talked about the tiers in the SJHL, and it definitely is top 6, bottom 6, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the top 6 right now are battling for home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think there's any doubt that those top 6 teams in the standings are going to be in the playoffs.
No, I mean, they've all shown
at the end of the season
100%. And they've all shown signs at some point or another that any of those 6 or 5, I should say, I'm going to take Battleford's out of the equation just for this statement.
Yeah,
but
let's
any
talk
of those
2 through 6.
Any of those 5,
sure,
I think could finish 2nd place.
100%.
Does that, you know what I mean? And in 100%. That regard, I mean, we saw. I think Rory's been saying it a lot on SJHL Weekly that Humboldt needs to find. I loved his thing about the Christmas gift where somebody needs to take the bull by the horns and net and just run with it. If they can get that, who knows about them? We don't need to go through every team necessarily, but I think 2 through 5, any of those teams could really make a run in the second half.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that will always play a part in that too, and I'm sure we will talk about it a lot on our first episode back after Christmas, January 10th, the trade deadline.
Yep. Less than a month away.
And we'll see what, especially those 2 through 6 teams potentially do. Again, you talked about it, like 2 through 6 right now in the SJHL standings. You're right. Any of those teams could finish in 2nd. 100%. I couldn't agree more with you.
They all have their own pros and cons.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But, when you look at, there's 2 teams in there that have only played 28 games. And, it's a pretty good chance that they're going to earn some points to climb up those standings. Mm-hmm. It'll be a little bit more challenging for a team like Estevan, who's played 36 already. They've only got 19 games left. Mm-hmm. That being said, you take advantage of those games, and anything can happen. But, I mean, you can pretty much take that 2 through 6, throw all the names in a hat, pull them out, pick an order.
I would agree.
There's no reason why, and there's honestly no reason why you couldn't say those 2 through 6.
Yeah.
2 through 6.
And, the funny part about those teams with 28 games, Flin Flon and Humboldt, they've both been in the CJHL top 20 throughout the year at some point or another.
That's right.
They're strong teams, and they're 4th and 6th in the league right now.
Correct.
So, like you said, I think it's going to be a wonderful second half, and January 10th, the intrigue is palpable. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, and again, before we, I guess, wrap up the final weekend preview, I guess, the other thing too is, when you look at the bottom of the standing, 7 through 12, I know, say, Kindersley to Nipawin separated by 10 points. No one's out of it yet.
No.
No one's out of it yet. Kindersley's only played 28 games too. They still have half their season. The big thing for them is they have to win on the road, but they're still in it. They're still in a playoff race, and they still have a good chance. They just have to take advantage of those games in hand, and take that recipe of what you're doing well on home ice and take it on the road.
Yeah, the biggest thing for them too is they have the goaltending. We've talked about it all year. Cody Jamin's been fantastic.
He has gotten, in my opinion, for Cody Jamin, he has gotten better and better the more he's played.
Right.
The more he's played. I was at the Weyburn-Kindersley game last week in Weyburn. And that game was a 4-2 final for the Weyburn Red Wings. I do believe Cody Jamin faced around 45 shots. If it wasn't for him, that game could have easily been well out of hand. Well out of hand. And that was their third game in 4 days. Fourth day.
Yeah.
He played all three of them.
Logan Falk has shown signs as well.
Yes, he was just hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if Kindersley's got anything going for them, I mean, that's a good place to start.
Exactly.
I would say.
Yeah. But still, we're at a point where, and Benny touched on it, any of those teams that aren't in a playoff spot right now could end up in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
At the end of the season.
Do not disagree.
Hey, Clark.
Oh, hey.
You went and got Benny some Christmas presents.
Yes.
Did you get your kids a Christmas present yet?
A couple of lumps of coal. Yeah.
Okay. How about your wife? Have you gotten your wife a gift?
You know
for Christmas?
what, Jeromy? Now that I catch your drift, not yet. I haven't, and I'm looking.
Have you gotten your dad a great holiday gift?
He needs one as well.
Perfect, because I got the gift for you. You may have heard of it.
Yeah, I have.
SJHL raffle.
You think I'm going to get my kids these for? I mean, I could.
You could.
Here's
the thing.
They would look good bombing around around town in a Polaris.
They could drive it. You would have to drive
it.
It'd be a gift for the family.
I mean, we could see.
To
teach them how to drive. No, it'd be a good way to teach them.
They can't win.
Okay, yeah.
They legally cannot win.
Right.
But,
let's get.
It was just a joke to help promote the raffle. SJHLraffle.ca. Brand new raffle to the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this season. Thank you so much for Polaris for partnering with the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, putting this on. You can win a brand new Polaris side-by-side. As you can see on the screen, tickets are available now. The draw is at the end of April. So don't get me wrong, you still got lots of time to get tickets. But Christmas is just around the corner.
Yeah. And
great Christmas gift.
There's only 5,000.
And you can see under the pricing, there is only 5,000 tickets left. And from what I heard from Director of Marketing, Jacob Faith, tickets are going well.
They're going well.
Ticket sales are going well. So don't wait.
Don't wait.
Get your tickets. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, 10 for $100. So as you can see, good savings if you buy more.
Value.
Yes, good value. But yes, all the information you need to know, sjhlraffle.ca. I'm sure in the new year we'll be posting an update of how ticket sales are going with the raffle. But if it does make it all the way until April, tickets are only available until April 23rd. And then the draw date is going to be on a very special live.
Whoa. That's a big word.
SJ Insider on Thursday, April 27th.
I love it.
Where we make the draw.
I love it.
So be sure to get your tickets now. All the information can be found sjhlraffle.ca. But again, thanks to Polaris.
Yeah.
Awesome gift.
It's such a great raffle.
Unreal.
And like you said last episode, it's a Christmas present. Valentine's Day's coming up.
Yeah.
You might as well just get them in advance.
See, here's what I did. I'll tell you what I did.
Anniversaries.
I bought 10. I'm buying 10.
Do I get to drive it if you win it?
No.
Oh.
I'm going to buy 10. I'm going to give 2 tickets to my mom for Christmas.
Yeah.
2 tickets for my girlfriend for Christmas.
2 to Clark.
And then 2 tickets for my mom for her birthday.
Yep.
2 tickets for my girlfriend again for Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. That's what I'm telling you.
And then, you know what? The final 2 tickets are for me.
You know what you
Spread
should do
the love
for Valentine's Day is
What's that?
like bake a cake or something and put the tickets inside. So when she cuts into the cake, it reveals the gift. And
But then you're
it's
cutting
like
the tickets in half.
You just got to be careful.
What kind of cake?
I guess that depends. What is she like?
Well, it would depend on
red
how
velvet.
how big are the tickets. I guess we have to ask
We have
Jacob.
to ask Jacob.
That'd be a question for Jacob. But
Are they online? Are they digital? You have to print.
well,
them
you
off.
can print them off.
Yeah, you have to probably a size.
Anything
piece of paper
digital
then.
you can print off.
8.5 by 11.
Sure.
There you go. So
There-
just fold it up. Maybe put it in some sort
So
of
anyways,
protective bag. tin foil.
Luckily, my girlfriend doesn't watch the show, so she wouldn't. She
Well,
doesn't.
I'll send her the link.
I just mean she doesn't watch the show, so I don't spoil Christmas gifts.
We'll edit
Christmas
this
or
part
Valentine's
out.
gift.
We'll edit. Well, I'll send her the link, but we'll edit this part out. She's got to start watching the show.
Anyways,
She's a big Mills fan.
she is. She loves her Melville Millionaires.
Yeah.
So shout out Melville Millionaires. My girlfriend is a fan of your team.
Yep.
Hey, you know what else I'm a big fan of?
I'm very curious.
Our great sponsors here at the
yes, of
Saskatchewan
course.
Junior Hockey
I was like,
League,
wait, what's next?
Who support
Yeah,
us
there we
each
go.
and every day, every show. You can see them on your screen right now. I'm going to try and go a reverse
It's a
order.
great group.
RBC, Young's Equipment, Great Western, SGU, SGI. Of course, they sponsor the audio version of our podcast. Direct West, Tourism Saskatchewan, Chevrolet, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, who they sponsor each and every coaches interview for our coaches conversations. Capital Auto Mall, SaskTel, Cantera Seeds. Thank you all so much for your support. Because we wouldn't be sitting here talking about the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League every Thursday, every Monday for SJ Weekly, without the great support from all of our sponsors. So thank you so much for your support. Because these shows wouldn't be possible without your support.
No.
We talked about it. Only one weekend left in the 2022 portion of the SJHL season. Time flies when you're having fun, as they say.
Flew by.
As they say. But if you want to stay up to date with everything in the SJHL, especially this weekend, big weekend of games, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's where you're going to see all the highlights. You are going to see all the shows, SJ Insider, SJ Weekly. You're going to see all the features. You're going to see new episodes of Women in the SJHL. Mm-hmm. You are going to see much more.
Showcase content.
Whatever your heart desires, you can find it at SJHL on YouTube and hit subscribe.
Yes.
The big thing is, we want you to subscribe, obviously, but you'll stay up to date with literally everything in the league. It's one of our best sources of places to get your information. Of course, sjhl.ca. Well, you'll see all the highlights and everything like that. But you know what? I think we should mention it is the final weekend of the 2022 portion of the schedule.
It's true.
And then the league's off for like 17 days.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're probably sitting at home wondering, I guess there's not going to be any content or anything
man.
like that. But not so fast.
You scared me so much just now. I wasn't expecting you.
He wasn't expecting.
You took it up to 100. That was great. Please do it again.
No. It takes it out of the moment.
You scared the flamingos, Jer.
I scared producer Jordan. I could hear
heard
him.
him in
I
the
could
back.
hear him scream behind.
He's just
the
around
wall.
this corner of glass. See where I am.
I
He's
can hear
just
him
around
screaming right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, starting on Monday, we are going to be releasing one every weekday, essentially a mid-season report card, mid-season report of each team in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League starting on Monday.
How many teams are there, Jer?
Last time I checked, 12.
12.
Guess what? Have you ever heard of a little thing called the 12 Days of Christmas?
Yes, I have.
Well, we're
actually.
calling this the 12 Days of Christmas break.
In brackets.
In brackets.
Bracket break, yeah.
12 Days of Christmas break.
Yeah.
So those will be released very similar to our SJHL season previews. It's going to be like that kind of format where we release one each day, Monday through Friday. So it'll be the first week, Monday through Friday, next week, Monday through Friday, stats included, and then the following Monday, Tuesday, and then the Tuesday, the last one gets released. And guess what? Guess what starts on the Tuesday?
Games.
The second half of the season.
You know what? Counting and math sometimes is glorious. Like the fact that we have exactly 12 teams and exactly 12
You know
days.
what?
It's just perfect.
Remember I complimented the schedule makers?
Yep.
Saying, wow, what a great final weekend of the 2022 side of the season.
Yeah. They're at it again.
They did this. They
They're
did
at it
this
again.
for us. So thank you to all the schedule makers of all the teams in the SJHL. And I request moving forward every season, let's have 12 weekdays in between
It just makes sense.
pre-Christmas and post-Christmas.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. So again, you're going to get lots of SJHL content still. While you're hanging out with your family, enjoying Christmas dinner,
Buying your Polaris raffle
tickets, sitting around the couch playing Uno. You know what I mean? Doing all those fun family traditions, because nothing bonds a family like yelling at each other playing Uno.
Pick
Right?
up 4.
Pick 4, then
my
draw
God.
8.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not going to get into the rules of Uno. You're picking up what I'm laying down.
Yeah.
So
I can just picture you playing Uno and that energy level you got to like about 3 minutes ago.
Yep.
When you have one card left, you know how
Yep.
you're supposed to, and you just that level of energy, you yell Uno at everybody and like stare into their
well,
souls.
here's the thing though: is if you yell, you can't yell it
You gotta
because
say
you
it,
got if you yell it, you don't get the word out fast enough.
right.
You gotta be like Uno.
Yeah, you
know
gotta
what I
be
mean?
quick.
Gotta be quick. Anyways, this isn't Uno Insider.
No, you're right. That's next week. During the Christmas break, we're gonna start a new show about Uno, and it's gonna be fantastic.
Our background's just all the colors of Uno:
That would
red, yellow, green, and blue.
It would look really good.
Well, you can't do green because, anyways,
You could do green, but
you could find a way.
you can find
We're
a
getting off the tracks. It's the last show before the holiday break. I'll give you the stage, Clark.
Ooh.
Final words to our glorious audience prior to the holidays. What would you like to say to them?
Well, the fact that we were able to launch this show and grow our Monday show has been fantastic. So thank you to the SJHL community. Please make sure that, like Jeromy said earlier, you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you can, share around these shows as you see fit. If you have friends groups on Facebook or anywhere else that you can share links, share them around, because I think there's a lot of SJHL fans that are obviously very invested in the league, and I think there's some that are definitely able to get more invested and would want to get more invested. So we're helping them find a way, and you guys have been fantastic so far. So let's keep it going. Keep it going into the new year. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
There you go.
All the others, and we're excited to. This first half was such a blast. Second half is going to be so much better. I can already tell.
Well, if the first half was a blast, what's the second half going to be?
A Blastoise. There you go, Jeromy. I know you'd like the Pokemon reference.
Wow. That was something.
You're welcome.
Anyways, I'll echo Clark's thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for your support for both our shows, SJHL Weekly, SJ Insider. It's been a whirlwind first couple of months for us on the job, for sure. Doing everything we can to help promote the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, a league we both. I don't want to speak for you, but
I think you can speak for me.
we both really care about, and we want to see the league grow as much as we can. And it wouldn't be possible without the great fans that we have in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League to support us with the shows, sponsorship, etc. Like Clark said, there's a lot of great SJHL fans across the province, even outside of the province.
Oh yeah, all over.
So share the show, share this show, share SJHL Weekly, share the YouTube page, Twitter, Facebook. Be sure you're dialed into all of the different socials, because the beginning of the season we were here. Now we're here.
Ooh.
Guess where we're going, Clark?
Oh, higher.
There you go.
That's a good one.
We're only going higher.
Only going higher.
But I was going to start with Happy New Year. Merry Christmas comes.
Yeah, I said Happy New Year first.
I know.
Chronologically, it was wrong.
I butchered it. Let's try this again. Happy holidays.
There you go.
Merry Christmas. Hope everyone has a great festive season with your loved ones. If you're traveling, travel safe. Happy New Year. And thank you so much for the great support for SJ Insider, SJHL Weekly, from producer Jordan in the back, from Clark Munroe, who's pulling out the Benny's Flamingos, from Benny's Flamingos. My name's Jeromy Corrigan. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the games this weekend, everyone, and we'll see you in the new year. Happy holidays.